Good morning, fish keepers. Cam here from the fishroom.co.nz. We've done it again. We've made it to Friday. And not only is it a Friday, it is a good Friday. Let's do coffee. Oh, my phone's making noises at me. That is good coffee. I do enjoy coffee, especially on a day there is no work. Just going to turn my phone off quickly so it doesn't make noises the entire way through. All right, so I hope everyone is well and everyone's dandy. John is unable to make it today, unfortunately. He's on granddading duties, obviously over where he is. It's like 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night or something like that. So often family things have to do what family things are doing, so that's cool. Good morning, Brian, and good morning, Maxie. I hope you're both well and both enjoying, I'm hoping, your day off. So Easter kind of crept up on me a lot quicker than I was expecting, so I didn't get a chance to announce the shop hours for the weekend. So we're closed today, Good Friday. We're open as per normal on Saturday, which is 10 till 3. Closed on Sunday, which is normal. And we're closed on Monday because that's also public holiday, and then back open as per normal on Tuesday. So short week this week, short week next week. But that's fine. It will make a little bit of issues when it comes to plant orders. It will make a little bit of issues when it comes to fish orders and snail orders and stuff like that. But everything else will be business as usual. As soon as the couriers are running, things will be in bags, things will be in motion. So, we'll just see how that works. Shouldn't be too much issue when it comes to the plants and the fish and stuff like that. It'll just be another day delay. Some of the North Island orders for the fish might get delayed to the week after next, just depending on how they kind of fall and how that works, as I'm not the biggest fan of sending anything north after Wednesday, which, we'll just see how that goes. But that's where we're at with when it comes to that. And next thing is we've got an exclusive discount code on the website for Easter. And when I say exclusive, I'm not telling anybody other than right here, right now. So if you are looking for some goodies for your aquariums, jump on the website and use the code HOP, which I think is very fitting for the time of the year, for the month and the day. And we'll give you a discount on your order for that. So this is the only place that it's being announced. So thank you everybody who is with us and joining us for that. So as a wee reward for that, get yourself a wee Easter deal. So thank you very much. Good morning, Helen, and good morning, Rochelle. And good morning, Facebook user from Wales, UK. So I'll bring this one up. So sometimes when people watch on the Aquarium Frenzy page, as opposed to on the Fish Room's Facebook page or on the Fish Room's YouTube channel, if they haven't registered through StreamYard, which is the app that I use to stream our live streams, it just comes up with Facebook users. So I'm not sure who you are. I'm sorry. When I watch the replay later on, or if I watch the replay later on, it'll actually come up with your name, but on my little side thing up the side, it only comes up with Facebook user. I'm sorry. G'day, Silver Creek. How you doing, buddy? Cool. So we've gone through our hours. We've actually got quite a bit to go through today, which is kind of cool. So a few of you are probably aware that I was in Auckland last weekend. I went up there to check out some aquarium shops. Went up there to check out the zoo, the Southeast Asia exhibition there, and look at Butterfly Creek. Unfortunately, I didn't take a lot of photos and didn't take a lot of videos. What I have taken, I've already released on YouTube via shorts and via videos. I'm a little bit annoyed at myself for not taking more, but I just kind of got caught in the moment of where I was and what I was doing and what I was enjoying. So to start with, I went and saw Eastern Marine, which you might have seen if you'd watched the live video last week. So I went and checked it out. Absolutely stunning. If you're a marine keeper or you're into that kind of thing, it's really, really worth checking it out. Some of my key takeaways for that is the way the owner Matt is running it and how he's producing corals, and also how he is retailing his corals and the way that it was set up. It was very much a way that I would like to try and work out how to do it with plants, to be totally honest. So that was a massive takeaway for me. And I'm not a saltwater keeper, but I do know how vibrant they look and just how vibrant all of his coral and all of his fish look. So that was really phenomenal. So if you're in the Auckland area and you are a marine keeper, definitely well and truly worth checking out Eastern Marine. Yeah, it's a good time as well. From there, I went to a new Papuki Aquarium Centre. I'll stop playing on my pen now, I'm sorry. Have I got a spare coffee? There's always spare coffee for you, buddy. Yeah, so I went to New Papuki Aquarium Centre. I love visiting Ronnie in his shop. He's always got some absolute gems tucked away. There was a lot of Asian arowanas, which were really cool. Some Datnoids, which were pretty cool. And he also had some Ultimate Angels, which I thought were phenomenal as well. So when I first started getting into aquariums, Ronnie was the first place that I bought something from via online. Not so much online, gave me a call, can you please order this in for me and that kind of stuff. And then he was one of the first shops that I ever visited that was outside of Nelson, and just the way that he had it set up really really resonated with me, really touched me. And so from that day onwards, I always tried to kind of mimic a little bit of how he was doing that. So I always enjoy him coming to Auckland and going up to see Ronnie and checking out his shop, because like I said, there's always some cool stuff in there. Good morning, Mystery Snail. Oh, Braxton, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And so, yeah, so that was Ronnie. Next from there, I went to Hollywood Fish Farm, Albany. I've been there plenty of times before. The sheer magnitude of the amount of livestock there just blew my mind. There was a bit of everything for everybody, which was really, really cool. And the sheer magnitude of products there was really interesting as well. Yeah, lots of stuff I hadn't seen before, lots of things I got no access to, and lots of things just in general. I thought, wow, these are pretty handy and helpful things. So I enjoyed my time there. It's nice and big, nice and welcoming. Yeah, the amount of livestock there was just mind blowing. The amount of fish they had there, and variants of fish, and quantity of fish. So granted, I went on a Friday, so they probably got their livestock order the day before, would be my guess, on the Thursday. But it was very cool, lots of cool stuff there. So that was the next place I went to. And the last place I went to was the Aquarium Project at Sir Cam, and I spent easily the most amount of time there. I was probably there for about 3 hours. Absolutely loved it. For the amount of space that he's got, he's done an incredibly good job. There is a hallway full of display aquariums. Off the top of my head, I think there's about half a dozen or so of various sort of themes, from big Oscars to Shelleys to dwarf tank and echin cichlids to planted tank. Like, there's some beautiful aquariums going down in the alleyway that he's built up. He's done pretty good with the room as far as the sales fish go as well. Lots of variations. What I did like the most about it is that every single tank was slightly themed differently. So all of the fish were being sort of enriched in different ways, as opposed to it just being in a glass box to sell from. They were like proper aquariums like you'd set up at home to have the fish in to sell from, which I thought was really cool. I also liked the welcoming feeling you got there. There was a couple of seats hanging around the shop. It just felt like you wanted to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and talk fish with them. So that's pretty much what I did for 2 or 3 hours. So if you haven't been to the Aquarium Project, it's great, and I would absolutely encourage you to do so if you are in Auckland. Go check out Cam. And he also, from memory, gives free coffees away as well. So if you are there and you're a coffee fan, go get a free coffee and talk fish with them. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time, enjoyed my coffee, and yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to go back there ever again. It's a good time. So that was my shop visits on Friday. Come Saturday, I went to the Auckland Zoo. Predominantly, I went there for the Southeast Asia display. Again, I was really disappointed in myself not getting very much videos or photos on that. Absolutely amazing. Admission's $29 or something like that. Just that display alone is worth the admission of $29 or so. Yeah, so you walk in. For those that mean, you walk in and you're kind of greeted with a tank on the side, a big Perspex sheet, and it's kind of been built into a wall. And on that side, there is lots of gouramis and lots of tiger barbs. And then you sort of walk across more, and the entire thing is just covered in tropical plants. And it's warm and it's humid, and glasses get fogged up and you kind of just overwhelmed with sensors, which is absolutely amazing. And you hear the noises from the jungle, which they've just got playing on repeat. And there's another big big perspex position over the other side. It's got like another underwater view with lots of clown loaches and tinfoil barbs. And the whole time you're kind of being taken away with the warmth and the noise and everything. That's great. And you walk through a little bit further, there's another really big perspex sheet, which again covers with lots of tinfoil barbs, clown loaches, and blue spot gouramis. The thing that took me is that most of the fish weren't schooling, like fish that you'd expect to be schooling together, barbs and loaches and stuff like that. They weren't really schooling per se. They were just sort of doing their own thing. But again, it's covered in lots of vegetation. It's great. And then if you looked, when I managed to look a bit closer, there was a really big alligator or crocodile or something along those lines just sitting out the back of everything, just cruising along, doing nothing. And then you sort of turn around a little bit and there's another pond type situation with 4 or 5 Asian arowanas and some dacnoids and stuff like that. So I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely loved that. I went through a couple of times. It was just that good. So there's that part, and then there was lots of rainbow fish in the Australian display as well, which was really cool. And then by the time I got through those bits, it started pouring down, and I got absolutely saturated. But it didn't stop me, so I continued looking through the zoo itself, just because I was there. But if you're in Auckland, it's worth just seeing those 2 displays alone, just for the $30. It was a good time. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Brendan. Hope everybody is well and dandy, and it's good to see that Aaron's got a fisher and mug going on for his morning coffee on this Good Friday. And then the next part of the trip was Sunday, and I went to Butterfly Creek, which is also really, really cool. A lot of the fishes are donated, isn't it, for that part of it? I know there has been a lot of fish. Well, has been some fish donated. I think there's been some clown loaches that have been donated. But for the best part, I would suspect that they have got one of the suppliers to import some bulk fish for them. That would be my guess. Just for the sheer volume of fish that are in that display, I wouldn't have thought they would have been taking them on donation. I think that would have been this is what we're setting up, this is what we're designing, and this is how we're going to make it work type of scenario. So Butterfly Creek was next. You walk in there and there's a 12-meter-ish, 10, 12-meter aquarium along one side. It had one of the largest silver arowanas I've seen in my life, not just in depth, but in length. It was girthy, it was huge. And that is a slightly smaller one as well, so a couple of silver arowanas. I had a really big clown knife, which everyone knows gets ginormous. This was a pretty big bugger as well. A few cactus plecos, which I thought was fantastic because, again, I'm a huge fan of plecos and they're really cool. Lots of clown loaches and a few other bits and pieces tucked in there. So that I thought was really rad. Then you walk through the enclosure area with all the butterflies again. There's just vegetation everywhere, nice and warm, sort of takes you away with everything. And there's a couple of ponds there with some dripping waterfalls or running waterfalls that had some blue stripy and boona, probably just some mixed Africans in there. What I really liked that is because you could look down on it and it was quite a large surface area. You could see the males defending little bits of territory like they would in the wild, which I thought was fantastic that you don't really see to that extent in an aquarium. So I thought that was really fantastic. I very much enjoyed that, and I spent plenty of time just sort of watching the African cichlids do their thing. And once you leave the butterfly enclosure, there's a bunch of crocodiles, which are ginormous. And then you kind of walk through the outside area with otters and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the highlight for me was that kind of indoor enclosure with like the open pond area with watching the African cichlids do their thing. I thought that was really cool. So again, I don't think it was overly overpriced, about $27 or something like that, which I thought was quite fair for what you're getting. You can spend all day there easily if you have the time with no dramas. Perfect for kids as well. So if you're in Auckland, definitely check out the Auckland Zoo and definitely check out Butterfly Creek and the Aquarium Project. You will not regret it. And the Aquarium Project's free to visit. How good is that? So that is my trip to Auckland, just in short form. Again, I'm quite disappointed I didn't get more video, more photos, but unfortunately the experience took over me trying to remember to take videos and stuff like that. So That's what happens sometimes. So, next of all, just another wee reminder for you that are here that are watching. We've got an exclusive discount code for people that are watching today for the website. If you jump on the website, which is thefishroom.co.nz, and use the code HOP in the coupon code or the discount code at the end, we'll give you a discount just because I thank you for watching, and it's Easter, so that's a good time. We've released our podcast that we had Nick from Keeping Fish Simple on today, so that's out on Spotify as well. That was a really good conversation. It was Waitangi weekend, I think, so not all that long ago. Sometimes when I edit and release the podcast, I feel, man, that's been ages since we've spoken to this person. Now it's come out, but it doesn't actually feel that long ago that we had Nick on this video, on this Finatics Friday coffee date, and we were talking fish with him. So it was the first one that we did that was a 9 o'clock start. So it was a couple hours long. And I have to apologise that we can wrestle. Oh, that's a good time. My podcasting or audio editing software has been playing up recently, and I haven't been able to work it properly. It's just not doing what I want it to do. So this week will be something that I have to look to find a new system, I think, because it's just not working the way it needs to work anymore. So the start of the edit is a little bit average, so there's no introduction, and it kind of just cuts in halfway through something I was saying. But it's only about 12 seconds or 15 seconds that when we get into the actual interview with Nick. So if you want to recap on that, check it out on Spotify, and away we go. And heading south is my next port of call. I'll definitely make something work sometime, maybe later this year or early next year, because I'm pretty keen to do some wrestling with you, Braxton. And checking out your aquariums, of course. Released another YouTube video today. Nearly daily, we have people talking to us, struggling to grow plants of various types. So we put together a video of what I consider the best 5 forever plants. Ones that you can either really neglect and they're not going to die, or ones that you can do a little bit of work to them and they grow just fine. As a whole, I try and encourage people to avoid stem plants. Stem plants seem to be the ones that most people have issues with. Generally speaking, most stem plants need a bit more attention than what I consider forever plants do. Things like Anubias, Java ferns, Echinodorus, Cryptocorynes, lotuses and stuff like that. Once you've kind of bought them, once you've planted them, once they're established, they don't tend to have too many issues. Every now and then you do, but generally not, compared to stem plants, which often have issues pretty much from day one. So it's not a bulletproof list. And like Brian just said, he's only killed 2 on that list, so 2 out of 5 ain't bad. But yeah, you seem to have more success with those family of plants than what you do often with stem plants and things like that. So check that out. It's on YouTube. I'm sure I'll share it to Facebook at some point today as well. And also the 3 Idiots Talk Aquariums podcast was also released again today, earlier this week. So I think we're up to episode 5 or episode 6. Today we talk about African cichlids. I know that's everyone's favorite topic. But it was actually a pretty good topic to discuss because Ryan is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to African cichlids. Cam's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to it as well, and I basically started my aquarium keeping journey with African cichlids, so there's a lot of knowledge that was being thrown around on that podcast. We also discussed the correct way of pronouncing Demasoni, which was a bit of a fun time as well. But yeah, if you're into African cichlids, it's definitely worth listening to. It's about an hour long, available on Spotify under the 3 Idiots Talk. 3 Idiots Talk Aquariums, or you can check it out on YouTube as well. We record the conversation and we put it up as well. So so that was a good time. If you're into African cichlids, you'll probably get something out of it, I would suspect. Oops, wrong button. No, we've still got the podcast going. So the one that I do is basically re-release of the Friday Finatics coffee date. So I just edit it down slightly and then put it out there like that. But then the other one I was talking about with the three idiots talk aquariums is myself, Cam from the Aquarium Project, and Ryan, who is an African cichlid breeder up in Auckland. And we just basically talk about all things fish and all things aquariums. So still doing them. I'm really enjoying doing the podcast with the boys as well. It's a good time. And yep, I absolutely need some more coffee. Unfortunately, this one's running out. What do I think of some of the products that Aqua House has managed to get into the country? Yeah, very exciting. I spoke to Remy a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. He was up this way, bought some of the products up. I think there's some very cool stuff happening there. I think he's got a lot of great ideas, and hopefully they all cross the line, because I think what he's doing is going to really, really benefit the New Zealand hobby. The tissue culture plants are fantastic. It's great that we're getting some plants in, and getting some different varieties of some high quality plants. So that's really exciting. I've spoken to him several times afterwards about some of the other stuff that he's getting in. I'm just as excited about some of the other things that he's looking at doing to what he's got as well. I'm really excited that he's got tropical food in. That's a product that I've been wanting to look at myself for quite some time. So I think that's really cool. And I think it just gives another option of a relatively well-based food product as well. So I'm going to be getting some myself to have a wee play around with. I know the ear pumps that he's bought in by Aquil, I think that's how you pronounce it, are phenomenally quiet. Like insanely quiet. Like the Tetra ear pumps, Tetra Whispers used to be very, very quiet. This is another level of silentness, so I'm really excited about that. We're just sort of working out a way that I can begin stocking some of the products as well. So we're definitely carrying those ear pumps because they're so phenomenally quiet. It's not funny. And a few other bits and pieces that he's got I'm really interested in as well. So that's something I'm pretty excited about from a business point of view, and also sort of using some of the products within what I do as well. So that's a good time. So overall, I'm pretty happy. So yeah, it's a good time. And Brax was saying something with lights. So I know there's some work going on with the lighting as well. So lighting is not my area of expertise whatsoever. But I would, after speaking to Remy, I would suggest or suspect that whatever products he is bringing in of a high quality nature, and they're going to do exactly what they're meant to do and what they say on the box, as opposed to buying something you go, this hasn't quite worked the way that I wanted it to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses his business and see how he helps the New Zealand hobby, because I think it can only be good things, and it's only early days. So that's a real good time there. 7 plants, that's pretty good. Yeah, because obviously we don't have, up until now, the tissue culture plants, and I never sort of knew how much were in them. I always suspected it was quite a value purchase as well. You're getting quite a bit of stuff, but to get 7 plants out of one pot, I mean, that's fantastic. That works out really, really well. So, yeah, it's exciting. That's all I can say. I'm excited, and I hope it takes off. And yeah, I hope it just continues to push the hobby here in New Zealand to the next level and push it further and further forward. So yeah, it's really exciting, and it's a good time. Everything's a good time. Something else that's a really good time. So I've been working on something for the last couple of months behind the scenes. It's a common thought, a common belief that fish keeping can be quite an expensive hobby. Depends on which side of the coin you sit on that one, I believe, as well. But obviously, at the moment, everyone's feeling the pinch a bit more with not as much money going around and all that type of thing. So I've been working on what I'm calling the aquarium essentials. And so basically, consumables that you have to buy on a regular basis, like flake food or crumble granules, dechlorinators, plant fertilizer, that sort of stuff. So cheaper than ponies. So I've been working on this essentials thing for a couple months now. Just about got over the line. So the plan is basically how Countdown last year did that we're doing our Winter 1 back, whatever it was, but far less scammy and actually useful. So I've gone through all of our sales records over the last 18 months and worked out what are the best-selling items, the best-selling item or two in these particular categories: flakes, crumbles, dechlorinated, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at dropping the price on them quite significantly, at least for the winter period, to try and make everybody's hobby slightly cheaper for them and slightly more accessible. So I'm hoping products just like generic, so like a Fish Science Tropical Flake, for example, maybe Chlorix or Prime, Sarah Insects, that sort of stuff, something along those lines. I'm looking at dropping sort of 20 to 25% for the next 3 months and just hold it at that price just to really help everybody out. So I'm just trying to get the last lot of logistics under control and sorted. The theory is like you go through a 200ml bottle of Prime every 6 months, for example. So, you can get it on a cycle and get it fairly cheap. Or you go through, if you go through flake food, as another example, you've got to continue to feed your fish over and over again. It's not like a heater that once you've got it, you've got it. Other than if it goes bust, it's the kind of thing you're buying over and over again. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So fingers crossed I can get over the line. Just waiting for a couple of emails back from a couple of people to make sure that everything is aligned with everything. So I'm not doing it wrong when it comes to minimum advertised prices and all that kind of stuff, because I don't want to be doing that side of it wrong as well. So we're getting pretty close to having that over the line. Hopefully in the next week we might be good to go. We've already got all the products selected. It's just waiting for confirmation from a couple of people. So fingers crossed that can be done soon. So I'm hoping that'll just help everybody out a little bit more and make everyone's experience a little bit cheaper and a little bit more accessible for at least over the winter period, which is when, generally speaking, most people think the hobby gets a bit more expensive because of the power costs and all that kind of stuff. So just life gets a bit more expensive over that time of the year. So fingers crossed that gets over the line. I'm sure I'll make a big song and dance about it once I do get those things over. So yeah, hopefully that's going to help everybody out a little bit. Yeah. Things have gotten pretty expensive. I tend to review the prices every 6 months or 8 months sort of thing, and often I forget. I'll review my retail price, but I'll often forget to review my wholesale cost price. And sometimes I'm looking at, when did that get so expensive? I didn't even realize. And everything's expensive. It just is what it is, unfortunately, at the moment. And the unfortunate thing is it's a really small industry and we're in the bottom of the world and everything costs lots to get here. So it's just part and parcel of it. I got some glass priced up to fix an aquarium the other day, and that was for the one that's at the back, and the base piece was $300, which actually it was the cheapest. I got it priced. The most expensive was $550 or something stupid like that. So a couple of years back, that piece was half that price. So just, unfortunately, it is what it is at the moment. If you can just store food and just bulk buy things. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Whatever you got to do to save money and make it more economical for you, it just makes absolute sense at the moment. Keeping things like buying flake on special, keeping in the freezer, or food in the freezer, it's going to extend that shelf life before you even open it. There's lots of ways of doing it. Buying products like Safe, for example, as opposed to Prime, might cost a little bit to start with, but if you buy a container of Safe, I would suspect you probably don't need to buy another one for 10 years. It's that well concentrated. So there's lots of ways to make the aquarium hobby cheaper. Sometimes you have to outlay a little bit of money to get there. Other times you can just think a little bit more. Put some insulation on the back of your aquarium when you're setting up, for example. Put some polystyrene to the back of it. Helps the heat stay in there, so that's going to drop your pricing a little bit. So using a slightly bigger air pump as opposed to several air pumps. Even when purchasing a filter, for example, they're not all made the same. Some are really, really thirsty when it comes to power, and others are really, really cheap. The cheap to run ones often cost more straight off the bat in the shop, but it doesn't take long for that to work its way out when you're running your filter for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's running it the entire time. It doesn't take long for that power cost to add up when you've bought one that's 19 watts compared to one that's 37 watts. It doesn't take long for it to swap over to become a far more economical unit, just to spend a couple $100 more to start with. But yeah, it's definitely something that people need to consider, I believe. Right, what else have I got? So this week, thanks to Braxton, we ended up getting a new plant out in the back here, which I'm pretty happy with. So we've got some bulbitis. I have not been overly successful growing that in recent times, but we're going to be putting that in the immersed tubs with the Java fern and stuff like that. So fingers crossed it goes okay. It's not a plant that is commercially grown, so it seems to be fairly hard to come by, but it probably shouldn't be. So I've put it in a couple of different tubs to try a few bits and pieces with it. So hopefully we can get that going, get that nice and established, and we can move along with that and get that going with everything else that we are moving with as far as the plants go. So we've got 3 different sorts of Java fern that we are growing and slowly establishing out the back. 2 or 3 different types of Anubias. That's also happening with that. A couple of different sorts of Cryptogrynes and Echinodoris. So they're all going quite nicely. And a couple of stem plants that are growing. So, which leads me into my next conversations. We've got another stand coming next weekend. So next weekend's going to be fairly busy for me. At the back, we are moving some things around, pulling an aquarium apart, changing some positions. Because I've got a stand coming that's going to probably hold another 10 or so aquariums, most of which are already sitting here ready to go. So you've got to do some work with the air system, get it all set up, put some more tanks in so that'll increase the volume, which is nice because unfortunately I've got a lot of fish on fish and tanks. I didn't want them all to be together, but I've just run out of space. So run out of aquarium space as opposed to floor space. So once that gets up and running, we get some more tanks going. But then we're moving the plant area somewhere as well, which will open that up. And when we move that, means we can double the capacity for that as well. So that'll set up another 9 or so tubs. So we'll get some 9 or more species going on. So that's just slowly but surely expanding as well. So next week's kind of moving weekend, bit of things going around, but it'll be a good time. But yeah, so once we get some more capacity, I've got some other species of plants that are growing submersed at the moment that I want to put into the tubs. There's a couple of species of Anubias that I've got that I'd like to be able to commercially supply, at least on a relatively regular basis. And there's some other species of crypts that I'd like to be doing that with as well. So we're slowly but surely getting there. I'm trying to put my focus on the plants that aren't commercially available from all of the wholesale growers, but ones that should be readily available. There's plenty of them out there that are hanging around in hobbyist hands, but they're a bit harder to get hold of because they're not commercially grown and not available at shops and stuff like that. So that's the plan with the plants. Not so much focusing on the ones that are commercially available because we can get them in all the time, but it's the ones that aren't quite as easy to get hold of that I'm trying to focus on a little bit more. And will I be doing some aquascaping? No chance. I'm not an aquascaper. I never claimed to be. I just like growing plants. It's not a skill that I particularly have, and it's not a skill that I'm really interested in learning anytime soon. I just like growing plants and playing with fish tanks, and I enjoy setting fish tanks up. That's the thing that drives me, doing the research and what I've got this size tank. These are a few fish, working out which fish can go with other fish, what areas of the world they come from, what they co-inhabitate with, plants, and all that kind of stuff, and building from there, as opposed to setting up some sort of prim and proper, flash-looking green tunnel thing that isn't really that realistic. Credit where credit's due. Some of those tanks look absolutely phenomenal, and there's some major talent to make that work, but it's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I don't have the time to maintain that sort of thing either. So, no, I will not be doing some aquascaping. Okay. I like how you've accidentally just thrown them rhizomes in there. The true and destructible ones. So, actually, on that note, what was I watching? We were listening to something the other day. Whoever it was talking about how they are made from basically oil-based stuff, and they are destructible because after a year or so they start deteriorating, which I didn't know because I don't use them or keep them around like that. But so maybe they are destructible. Aquascapers are people too, man. They're okay, but it's just the concept of it isn't my jive whatsoever. So yeah, cross those things off. Next week speaking of aquascapers, next week we've got another guest coming on. We've got Ty Streetman. So he explores rivers, does lots of photography, does some aquascaping himself, does a lot of photography and that sort of stuff. So I'm quite looking forward to that. So that'll be a good time as well. I believe he's recently released a book, or he's about to release a book, something along those lines. So hopefully we have a bit of a conversation about that with him as well. So I'm quite looking forward to that one. But yeah. So there needs to be another term for those who love to design tanks for the specific species living in the aquarium. Still lovely but not perfection, best suited to the fish. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I was listening to a podcast on the way back from Auckland. What was it? Everything Aquariums? Everyday Aquarium? I can't quite remember what it was. It's on Spotify. Anyway, the guy was interviewing Heiko Blair. And I listened to one on the way up, on the way down. I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, they were talking about how the word aquascaping, everyone thinks that Amano created that term, but he never once said it. It's just been something that sort of developed afterwards. And the concept of the word aquascaping wasn't actually what he was always trying to get across. And it's just kind of developed and snowballed to where it is now, which I think is a really interesting thing, that just that one term that was never really said or used is now such a common thing, which was removed from what the original theory was. So, yeah, if I remember, I'll find that podcast and I'll chuck it up on the Facebook page of the whole series of it, because it's got some very interesting guests and some very interesting information in it. So I'm only 2 or 3 episodes or 4 episodes, something like that in, but it's been a really good listen so far, and there's lots of great bits of information in it for you. Right, so that's that one. And lucky last, I've just got all the fish that we have basically released today or coming through. We've released a lot of sparkling gouramis. So we had after some of them. So we've got some sparkling gouramis that have come through and some bronze corridors. So I'm pretty happy with them. The sparkling gouramis looking absolutely phenomenal. They're a nice little fish. They're a really cool fish. And then bronze cories, and we've got some more electric blue rams that have come through and ready to rock and roll. So they'll be available on the website basically when I'm finished with this. We've got some galaxy bitters, which look absolutely stunning as well. I'm not sure of the tail type. I'm not sure of the genetics. I'm basing this, which is probably going to make Maxie angry. I'm basing this on the colors, which I think are absolutely beautiful. I see bitters as the color as opposed to the shape and stuff like that. I need to do more work on better tail types and better genetics and stuff like that when we're selling them. But yeah, these are just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful red colors with a little blue splashed through them. So they're not on the website. I'll try and get that done possibly this afternoon or maybe over the weekend, depending if time permits. But there's some beautiful fish in that group. So we've got about a dozen of them ready to rock and roll. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a group of cardinal tetras coming through, which is cool. And also some gold and some standard minnows, which are really cool. They're a great substitute for a cold water tank, particularly if they're small. And now that I've said cardinals, during that podcast I was listening to, was a big conversation about cardinal tetras and how they were named, and the conversation about how they were named incorrectly and someone paid for them to be named scientifically named slightly differently. So yeah, there's some really, really cool bits of history in that podcast. So I will be sure to. What am I writing down? I'll be sure to podcast share. So I'll do that when I get off that. But yeah, it's a great series of podcasts, and it's really cool. Some fantastic guests on there as well. My love of aquatic plants and self-respect is way too high to say I'm an aquascaper. That is good. I accept that. I like that a lot. Biotope. Yeah, I think you're possibly in along the right way there, Aaron. There's another term that's used as well. What is it? There's biotoping and area-scaping, I think is what it's called, when you've got a couple of groups of fish that wouldn't naturally occur together in the wild, but would inhabit the same similar water conditions together. It becomes an area. So it kind of allows you to put things like crypts for plants and tetras for your fish, because they wouldn't naturally coincide together, but they work in a very similar style together and that sort of stuff. Interestingly enough, on that podcast I was listening to as well, Haka was saying that with different fish from different regions of the world, they don't work together. So, like, although it's fine to keep tetras and raspora together, for example, they don't kind of talk together, so they don't sort of look like they work together. Whereas if you were to keep two schools of tetras together, they kind of talk together, they work together, and their aquarium becomes more of an harmony, as opposed to putting different fish from different species around the world, which I thought was really interesting. It kind of aligns with my thoughts of like when people just put cichlids together because they're a cichlid, it just doesn't seem to quite look right and doesn't seem to quite work. Whereas if you put just Malawi cichlids together and like Oscars together, it just seems to coincide and work in a far better bit of harmony. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, I agree. The gold ones, the gold white club minnows or gold minnows, do stand out a lot more, particularly from above. They just shimmer compared to the silver ones. I think they're a really good option if you're going to put them outside in small containers over the silver ones. Both are really nice fish, but the gold one's just that little bit nicer. Yeah, Anobius does work anywhere. So if you haven't yet, I'm going to do that thing that I hate doing every time. Please like, subscribe, hit the like button, all that kind of stuff. Would really appreciate it if you do subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. Just checking out the statistical analytics and stuff like that. 85% of our watchers aren't subscribers, which I thought was really, really interesting. I thought it might be slightly the other way around. There'd be more subscribers than non-subscribers. So if you haven't, please do that. And also don't forget that this weekend, for those people that are watching this live stream, use the code HOP into the coupon code, whatever you want to call it, at checkout, and we'll give you a discount on your purchase just because it's Easter, and just for me to say thank you very much for watching this live video with us. I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's all that I've got for today. It was quite a bit of stuff, so I think that's cool. I'm a minority. So yeah, I appreciate everyone that's turned out on Easter. Would have been cooler if I'd realised it was Easter coming up and we've sort of sorted out some sort of extravaganza or something cool like that. But like I said, Easter just kind of crept up on me fairly quickly. I didn't realise it was there. So we are where we are. So unless anyone's got washing sand with my 2 cats and 5-year-old. Yeah, washing sand's not a fun time. And I tend to wash sand in the winter when everything gets really cold as well. For some reason, I don't time it very well for the summer. But yeah. So yeah, if there's nothing else anyone wants to talk about, yeah, I'll be cruising through, and yeah, hope everybody enjoys extravaganza, enjoys their 4-day weekend. So yeah, you did next time. Thank you for joining us, Braxton. It's much appreciated. It's good to have you here live for the first time. I swear we'll get you on as a guest one day because your knowledge in growing plants is right up there. And it'd be good to have you on having a chat about that because, like I said, I think your knowledge in plants is really high, and you're a untapped gem that would be great to get on just to get some wisdom out of you. So that'd be good. So thank you. And thank you, Aaron, to Maxie, Rochelle. I hope you all have a really good day. Catch you later, Brian. Have a good one, Tim. Happy fish keeping. Catch you later. Enjoy your long weekend.